You feel free to throw the ball about. It's okay. Feel free to just make sure somebody knows. Make sure.
No injuries, please.
No injuries, yes. So what we wanted to do was just something a little different. Rather than a presentation, we wanted to look at two topics. The first one, how do you attract young people, the youth? So, Petrus, we come to you first. How do you attract young people to your games? Yeah, sorry.
It's working. Yeah. So I think the important part is to differentiate, because young people is a broad subject. So for the little ones, obviously mascot is really important. So showing it as much as possible on our social media and letting the parents know that there's, even though if the kids are not interested into the game, there's other options to do in the game, during the game, to take photos with them, to play with the mascot. The mascot himself has to be really fun and playful and engage with the kids. So that's one of the most important things. Also having drinks and snacks also for the kids menu. Then for a bit older kids, we try to engage with them by school visits and also through social media, through various platforms of social media. As I mentioned yesterday, TikTok is like really popular in that segment of children. So you have to show off what's going on in your games, that it's fun, that it's playful, that they would want to come. And for the, I'd say, teenagers and everything else, we try to get them engaged through volunteering and building a community. That way they would come to games, form fan groups as well. Maybe not necessarily ultras, but just good fans. So it's different ways for different segments of young audience.
I like that idea of volunteering. What would you do there? What would you get them to volunteer? Is it to do a game report, or is it something else? What would you get them to do?
So there's different types of volunteering. First of all, we have to have mop boys, like the ones who have to clean if somebody falls, and then just match day volunteering, so people who greet people, who scan the tickets, the ones who show where the bar, the bathroom, their seats are. So we try to get as many of them as possible. Of course, you need a few older ones to keep control, but most of them are teenagers in our club. And we see that they get involved and they love it, like it so much, and then when they grow older, they start internships when they start studying, and they become a part of a club. There's many people that are working currently at our club that started off with volunteering, so it's a good way. Or if they're not working, then they just become fans, and then they become older, they buy tickets. It's a good way of getting them hooked, if I may.
Great. And Darren, what are you seeing happening in various clubs to attract a younger audience? What are clubs doing?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest lessons that clubs have sort of realised in recent seasons is that actually younger fans, and even probably up to teenagers, actually get bored quite easily at games and don't actually watch the entire, if it's a football game, for example, the entire 90 minutes. So I think what clubs are really starting to do is understand that you have to have a lot more entertainment within the whole experience for young fans, even during the game. So some of the best examples are where there's lots of activities, maybe in the fan zone, but the very best examples are where those activities and some of the things that are happening actually have moved into the stadium as well. So, for example, some clubs have got little, even mini pitches within the stadiums. The fans can, so when the kids get a bit bored, they can go into these pitches and play their own game. Now, you might say, well, don't we want them to be watching the games? But at the end of the day, if they have a really fun experience and get together with their friends and meet new people, that's probably going to be more likely to bring them to games in future, even if they don't watch the whole game.
And do you find that clubs are really focusing in on this attracting young audience, or are they not?
No, they really are. The programme we do with the EFL is really all about families, because I think all the clubs realise that families is the way to increase attendances, because obviously if a family turns up, then it may be 3, 4 or 5 people rather than just one new fan. So I think the clubs really understand the importance of it, and they do focus. I think at the moment, and it's interesting to hear what Petra said, because most of the clubs in England, for example, will be very focused on very young children, maybe 6, 7, 8-year-olds, because it's quite easy to entertain them with the mascot and all the things that we talked about. But when they get to teenagers, it's actually much more difficult to focus, to engage them fully. So I thought the volunteering idea was a great one. It's one I'm going to suggest to a lot of clubs who struggle with that in England, definitely.
And again, that's maybe something that you can do, is to engage youth for some volunteering type roles as well. Petrus, how important then, you mentioned about TikTok, how important is social in bringing youth to the game, or just engaging with them wherever they are at? How important is that whole social content?
Yeah, obviously it's very important, and finding platforms that target different segments of youngsters, it's really important. And also what we try to always say to people who are running our social media accounts, not only post stuff but also be engaged in the comments or everything else, because it's whenever anybody has a question in the comments, don't leave that question answered, even if it's a not serious question. You can write a joke on it. That way people feel included. That way people feel, and especially younger audience, feel that they're being looked at, and they are way more likely than to come to games, to follow us. So engaging with them, it's incredibly important.
And Florian, I'm coming to Florian now. You have a 8-year-old, so you're in that nice space. What do you think? How are your local clubs attracting younger ones to attend their games, or are they not? Or what do you think they should be doing?
Well, you're absolutely right. It's a game changer. The logo and the branding, we're talking in the first day, early in the morning, the importance of the branding to attract the audience, to be modern and so on. But the number one question I asked my son, why you're a fan of this team over this team and so on, he doesn't really know the players. He doesn't really know their performances. He's too young to be on social media platforms or what has been presented. The only thing he cares about are the colors and how clean the court is. So whenever I ask him, why are you the fan of that team, he tells me, because the court is nice, there are stars, on the court, it's quite cool, and the colors, I love them. And he forces me to buy the shorts, the T-shirts, the handbands, the everything. So in terms of merchandising, is also, kids are asking the parents also to contribute in the economy of the club, just because they like what? A logo, the colors, and the mascot is also a game changer. So those are the things that even before becoming a teenager, you would care about. And that keeps you around the team, that keeps you, interested in what's going on. And then all the other questions come after, like, did they perform? Did they win the game? By how many points did they win or lose the game? This comes after. But to attract the audience, particularly for that age, the branding part is absolutely critical. And maybe, having different types of kits with different colors. We've seen the example of Marseille using obviously the traditional blue of the club, but also other colors to attract other types of audiences. That might be also a factor to consider, to think about who are going to be the audience of tomorrow, even the day after tomorrow, because I need already to take them with me, and you need to think about how you look like, but you also need to think, obviously, how you attract the parents, and the combination of the two will make you a strong young audience that you will have now and in the future.
So your son is 8. Question: how did he get involved in basketball?
So he was involved in basketball, first of all, because of COVID. But, despite the fact that this period was kind of a bit specific, where we were all locked down and we had the chance to have a hoop in the garden and to play. So that was the first moments where he was starting to actually bounce the ball and shoot the basketball. And he enjoyed it. And obviously he's seen that I have interest for the game. I like to watch games. I like to, be around the game. So of course he was naturally exposed. But even not taking the example of my son, but with the broader picture, he was also very much exposed to basketball, but also to other sports, which are obviously trying to do the same thing than basketball. He was exposed to some of the sports exclusively in schools. So he got to know, in my country, rugby is very popular. He got to know rugby and to play rugby for the very first time because it was a program implemented in the school, and because the clubs next door were actually very proactive in implementing a program in agreement with the schools, providing equipment, providing coaches and teachers, so they could actually, discover the game and eventually continue their journey in the sport by joining the club and becoming a member, and ultimately also a fan. So that's also, I think, as a club, you might think that this is a complicated thing to do, but actually I don't think it is that complicated to reach agreements with certain schools, which also have a demand to occupy certain empty times that they may have. And I think, sometimes I also see in my own community that there are some missed opportunities because I see the clubs not being as proactive as they should be, in my view. And if they were more proactive and they enter the school, they would not only expose their brand, they would not only give the envy to start playing the game, but also, even if they don't join the club, they will eventually be your club lover. They will recognize your brand, and one day, sooner or later, they will come and join, and they will come with some additional family members. So I think the work to be done at school and the networking and the exposure of your brand, of your club in the school environment is key.
So I think that's something to take away as a real life example. What are you doing in the school, the local school, to make sure basketball is played within the school environment? And number 2, how do you influence the parent? How do you influence the parent? Because the parent will have an influence over the daughter or the son because of their interest. So think, how can you link ticketing between bring a mother and daughter to the game day, something like this, to try and bring them together. So, Petrus, if I was to say to you 1 or 2 tips that you would say to everyone, here's 1 or 2 practical tips to attract younger audience, what would they be? So just real practical. I know you've maybe mentioned 1 or 2, but practical tips that you would say, do this and this to attract the younger people.
Yeah, so obviously, as mentioned yesterday, I think going into your local community and visiting schools is a really easy way, because the schools are looking for something like special for their children, so they happily accept you in their school, and you can just take 1 or 2 players, do this sort of environment where the kids can ask questions and everything, and just then take pictures, and for the first time give each of the kids a free ticket, for example, and then the kids probably won't go on their own, so they will bring parents. Parents have to buy a ticket then they come into the game, then they get a snack, and in the end it works out financially even. So, and if the match day experience is good enough, then they will come back the second and the third time, and that's really practical and easy way to target new audiences. Maybe those kids haven't been to your game before, but not because they don't like basketball or whatever, but they just didn't have the opportunity to. So give them free trial, and then it's an easy model.
Very good. Love that idea. Free trial into the school, but maybe do something in your gym before a game or after a game that attracts. Darren, same question to you. What 2 practical tips would you give?
I think if I sort of focus then on when fans are in the stadium, I think anything you can do that gets the players involved, I think will definitely have a massive impact on getting more kids. If kids think that they can meet players and interact with players, that's going to have a huge impact. And then obviously if you put that on social channels and everything, then other people and other families are going to see that and say, wow, they're going to get a chance to meet their heroes and that sort of stuff. So I think that's probably the one. And I know we've talked about it a lot today, but I think anything you can do where there's a mascot involved definitely makes such a difference, because it just opens up all kinds of doors. I know one club in England who because their mascot is just so much a part of the club, he's a dog, and they've even got a whole part of the stadium called, his name Donny, so Donny's Kennel is in the stadium, and they have all activities there. But again, if you think about it from a family point of view, they've suddenly got the option, a family's got the option of going to the game. They've got Donny's Kennel where they can go and spend maybe an hour before the game. So I think a lot of parents want, and let's face it, parents are going to have to make the decisions where the kids go. The parents, if they can think, well, look, my child is going to be entertained, they're going to be safe and they're going to have fun, and I can stand by and meet up with some friends or wherever, everybody wins. So I think that's definitely the way to do it.
Well, just then, so that's the younger audience. Is anyone doing anything that they would like to share to attract a younger audience? And if you're not, it's okay. But maybe something to consider. Yeah. But what are you doing to attract the younger audience?
Not particularly anything.
Okay.
Because they are interested a lot in the sport.
Yep.
They like the players, especially the foreign players that come to play here, so they're excited. And the biggest audience, I think, in the most of Kosovo is younger audience.
But are you doing something proactive? Okay, they're coming to see the players, but as the guys were talking, they're proactive, going out to schools, proactive, doing something on inside venue, even something small.
Not in particular.
Okay,
No.
That's okay, no problem. Anybody else doing anything to attract? Hands up. Do you think it's beneficial? Okay, hands down. Hands up.
If you want to attract more people and teenagers in this group, you just tell them that there's a PlayStation.
There actually is in some sports they have a PlayStation area just to get them in, but it's at the breaks and things like this. So, hands up, who's going to do something to attract younger people now after this conversation? Okay, some okay. So what we would like you to do is just do one thing. That one thing might be volunteer for youth. It might be something in game. Or it might be to go to a school, but just one simple thing.
Deshta pak a shumë si lloj ta që kështu se si e praktikojmë ne masuritetin në për ta që kështu të inkuadrimin në klubin tonë. Ne zakonisht para fillimit të sezonit shkollor mbledhemi një antar të bordit atje e bëjmë pak një farë si thuhet një slider për me bëdo flajera që përveç informacioneve se të shkojmë do të vizitojmë këtë shkollë. Një shkrim në ato folderat e tonë shkrim se biografia cili klubi me çka ofrojmë, çka o qëllimi, për çka bëhet kjo, për çka është mirë më morë me basketbol e kështu me radhë. Do të thonë krahas asaj ne e bëjmë shtypjen. Me të morë ato mandej shkojmë e vizitojmë shkollën dhe e bëjmë shpërndarjen e nxënësve në atë shkollë, edhe njëkohësisht bëjmë edhe demonstrimin e elementeve tu i përdor lojtarët tonë të cilët janë veç aktiv, një lloj biografi edhe të aty lojtarë se sa kanë arritur që nxënësi ju i kësaj shkolle, tani është një lojtare që ka arritur këto suksese kështu me radhë, edhe ku shkon qëllimi rend të parë, do të përveç është interesi shëndetësor edhe ai social, edhe pse nesër nuk dikush nga ju nuk apo mund të jetë edhe një ndër lojtarët që nesër mund të jetë edhe mburrje e ekipit. Do thotë një lloj mesazhi mirë të fëmijët i bën japë me folderat i shpërndajmë. Në folderet ka informacionet edhe të faqes tonë, i kanë informacionet edhe numrin kontaktues të rrjeteve sociale, YouTube-s e kështu me radhë. Do të thonë për informacion se magjërsisht mund të kontaktohet e kështu me radhë.
Very good. So if I was other people, I would come and share the learning. Share the learning, ask him how does he do it? Share the learning. But what I would say, when you go to a school, it should not be once a year. Build up the relationship with that school by going lots of times. That will strengthen your message. But really good.
Vetë harrova me përmend një fenomen sepse ne në atë shkollë ku kemi shkuar dhe shkollave të përreth, informacioni ose ne aktivitetet e këtij sporti, pra në këtë rast basketbollit, mat në sallën dhe në ato folderet non stop e kemi si informacion edhe në shkolla, si poster, si kanë informacione, është informacioni aty se në hymje kur dhe në shkollë, që në këtë shkollë përveç mësimit, ka edhe kjo, ky klub i caktuar i mon aktivitetet sportive.
And I'd just say just one point from that I thought was really important that we probably haven't touched on at all is, and we're seeing a huge increase in the importance of healthy living. So anything that you can do where it promotes exercise and keeping people fit and healthy is just an added bonus, because parents especially are looking for ways in which they can keep their families healthy and fit. And so if you can get on the back of that and use that as an advantage as a way in, then that's really important as well.
Just another thing, because we're talking about the importance of the mascot and also the messages on how, for what you wanna, what are the values, what you stand for. Why not also going to a school and instead of sending the players to actually have this, you could do this once, but also why not using your mascot? Because I can tell you, If the kids, far in advance, they know that the mascot of the club will come, they will wait for that day to arrive. And every single day, they will wait when the mascot is going to arrive. And when the mascot is going to come, it's going to be a huge, a great time for the kids. They will wait for this for a long time. That's also a way to pass some of the messages that might be important for the stakeholders that will open the doors for you to go into schools. I'm explaining myself. If you want to bring a message of inclusivity, because that's one of your values, that's what you stand for, you can have the mascots doing certain things, passing certain messages, using some activities to pass those messages to the kids. And the schools will be happy with that. Even the local authorities will be happy with that. They will see that the club is much more than just basketball. They try to put certain messages. On a very global stage, of course, it's a global event. We just had the Olympics. You know that the mascot was actually two mascots, one which was completely valid and one with a disability. Those are the messages that you can also use. If that's something you want to pass as a message in terms of inclusivity, your mascot will be able to pass it way better than if someone is going to the school and talk about inclusivity. So think about using your assets to be recognized and also to pass the messages, and those messages will be happy to be received by the kids, but also the entities will be happy to open doors to a club like you, because you're bringing additional and good values, and that's what they're also looking for. So, think about those creative ways of how to not just interact during your games or around the arena, but also during occasions like that.
Yeah, very, very, very useful. So we move from attracting a younger base to attracting a loyal base. How do you build a loyal fan base? So, Petrus, can you give us some examples from your club? How do you build a loyal fan base? How have you done it? How do you maintain it?
I think our fans are specific in a way that they do a lot of things for themselves. But for that to happen, we, as a club, put a lot of effort into giving them the resources to do it. So we have membership owners each year. There's over 1,000 of them, and we try to include them into decision-making process. So, for example, before the season, we send them an email to participate in a form. Like, for example, when would you like the home games to be played at which hour? And they all communicate that to us, and whatever they decide, we pick that time. Obviously, it depends on the BCL scheduling and everything else, and our local league, but we try to include them into decision making. 2 seasons ago, we included them into our jersey creation process. Like, we sent them out, look, we have these 5 examples of what we are trying to do. Which one do you like the most? And they chose the one, and we actually played with that uniform. So giving them more power, more decision-making ability, that keeps them engaged more, and then other people that are not inside that community see what's going on and say, I want to be a part of that. I would like to be included in it, because then you feel like you're not only a fan, but you're also part of the club. So I think that's really important. Of course, it doesn't have to be major decisions like, do we want to fire a coach or not? Because after every loss, everybody would vote to fire the coach. But some simple things like uniforms, game time, would you like to include this snack into our bar? Like simple things like that. We try to include them as many decisions as possible. And we feel that way they become engaged, and then they invite their friends. They feel like they're part of the club, and that the success of the club is part of their success. So they want to put the effort in to be a part of that. And
I love the idea of absolutely love the idea of it's fans led. We did something similar in the federation that I was involved in, and a loyal fan base came from being fan-led. You do give them some help and assistance, but it must come from the fans. And I really totally agree with that idea of letting the fans be more engaged by some of the ideas you've mentioned. It gives them more buy-in. Very different, maybe, way of thinking of things. Very different. But it's interesting, it works. What are you seeing, Darren, from other clubs, and how are they building a loyal fan base?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that probably, just before I answer that, Jeff, is one of the really surprising numbers. There's a lot of research been done on football in England in the last few months. And in terms of the average games that a fan attends in men's football, it's only 2.5, which is incredibly, and it's actually 1.3 in women's football. So the number of games that a fan attends in a season is actually incredibly small overall. You know, considering that you'll have those fans that are there every game, it means there's a hell of a lot of fans who are probably just attending one or two games. So I think one of the, probably the most important question that clubs have that I witness is, well, we're pretty good at getting a fan to get to a game, but how do we get them to go to another game afterwards? And although, whilst there's obviously going to be something to do with the entertainment on the field or in the court, in basketball's case, there would be something that would obviously play a part in it, because it's, if the fan sees a great game, they're going to come and watch another. They're going to watch a game in the hope that it's as good. But I think the reality is, especially with modern family audiences, they've got to have a great experience, because then they can start to, rather than just worry about, well, if the team wins or if the team loses, they can actually say that's a leisure destination for my family for every Saturday or every other Saturday or however often the games are. So all the things that are happening that make it far more than a game, and I know I said this in the presentation, but to repeat it, anything that happens that's outside of the game that adds to the entertainment for people means that families can actually probably get a 4 or 5 hour day out of coming to a game.
So
well,
the game day experience, entertainment and food, it plays a big part.
It plays a massive part, and what we're seeing so I can only speak for football because that's where I see all the evidence, but what we're seeing is, because the type of fan is changing, the fan that I would consider myself as, the fan who turns up probably quite close to kick-off, has a drink, a little bit to eat, watches the match, goes straight home, they're being replaced by a whole new set of fans who is only going to get bigger, who are far more interested in the whole experience, not just the game. So the food plays a massive part, the fact that, as we've said, the kids can do things. And even after the game, I mean, if you look at, some of the sports, if you take Formula One, for example, they have concerts after the race has finished. Now, they don't just do that for the fun of it. That's because they know that, as well as the race, that fans want more than that. And if a fan can go and they can do some shopping, get something nice to eat, watch the race and go to a concert, that's going to keep them there. That's a whole day out, rather than just turning up for one particular event.
And Florian, from yours, what are you seeing is happening to keep a loyal fan base? How are they doing it, and things like this from your experience, from a FIBA point of view?
Well, obviously, there are, as it has been mentioned, there are many factors that keep people engaged or being loyal to a club. So it's really difficult to pick one in particular. But I would say, for me, one of the things that is very important, like anything, is the first impression you give once you have the very first experience with your club. It's like you go to a job interview, and if you're not presenting well, if you're not, presenting yourself in the best way possible, then most probably you won't get a job. It's the same when you are welcoming people for maybe the first time ever in your arena, in your games. Because they were attracted through a school program, or because they are friends of someone who really wanted to go, and you're just accompanying. You need to have that first experience being phenomenal as much as possible. You need to treat them like guests. You need to make sure that they are having a good moment, they are having fun. If that happens, in my view, there is an emotional connection that is being created with the club. And this has nothing to do with the performance on the court, if we're talking about basketball. On purpose, I will give you an example, which I was discussing actually before with my colleagues during one of the breaks. I'm not a ice hockey fan. I really don't know much about the rules. But I got to go to a game in where I live in Geneva. So I went to the game, and despite a couple of things that I would say they could do better as to treat people as guests, but the experience overall was fantastic. They made a lot of entertainment during the game. For me, it was quite difficult to even follow the game, because if you know the game, that goes quite fast. But the overall experience was fun. And not just because I'm a sport lover, but I was with my wife, with the kids, and everybody loved it. Just, again, with zero knowledge about the game, but we just having a good moment. The very first thing that we said after the game, when we were walking back to our car, was, "Did you like it?" Everybody, "Yes, that was amazing. Do you want to come back?" And everybody said, "Yes, we should come very often, like not every game, but like why not coming like once a month or once every 2 months, whenever we have the time." That's how, just because we had a good experience, then suddenly I got interested into not hockey, but that particular club. So now I'm getting familiar with, or I'm following up on what kind of results they have, and I'm not a avid fan of the club, but I'm consuming their content. I'm receiving their notifications. I would like to be updated on what's going on. Are they performing, not performing? And from time to time, I'll go to the games. If I had a very bad experience, if I felt insecure, me or my kids or my wife, if one of our a group of 4, 2 kids and my wife and myself, had a bad experience, one of us would have said, "I don't want to come back ever again," and most probably that group of 4 is gone. So, I think for me, my bottom line, what I wanted to say is that the first experience, the way you present yourself for the very first time, is extremely important. And obviously, you cannot know who is coming first, or we have seen some examples like this is your first time and you even customize the tickets and so on. But without going to that extreme, it's just the standards, I believe, that needs to be put to make sure that whoever is coming, whether this is the 10th time or the first time or the 100th times, they will keep having fun and a good experience.
I love that idea of treating people as a guest and making sure the first impression counts. So, Petrus, how important are the values? You talked about branding and the values. You changed the logo and you put values. How important is that to build a loyal fan base? Like what we talked about yesterday.
Yeah, I think it's really a good way, because your hardcore fans will be with the club no matter what. But if you have a strong value system, and you communicate that well, it's a really good way to attract new audiences. Maybe even audiences that have nothing to do with basketball and don't even like basketball, but they like what the club represents. If you're different, if your values align with them, and you do a lot of work in the community, that's just an amazing way, first of all, to be liked. And being liked leads to people wanting to be associated with you. So your merchandise sales, your games, and everything else. But just in general, like your city is just your city, so it's not. Might grow in population, but there's limited amount of people that you can draw fans out of. But if you start maybe not caring so much about the location of your fans, but starting to trigger what their values, you broaden the scope of how many fans you can get. And there are good examples of like, for example, Hamburg St. Pauli. There's a football club. They're really known worldwide for having strong values. They're against racism, against homophobia, and everything else. And they have fans all around the world, even though they were playing in second division of German football up until last year. So they attracted people not only in their city, because they were number 2 team in their city as well, but they have fans all around the world. So it's an extreme example, of course, but by having clear-cut values, you can attract people for whatever. They just wanted to be associated with you because it's what they're representing.
And it's while you can pull on the knife. But while it's so important that while we talked about values and branding yesterday, just like what Patricia talked about there now, like with the St. Pauli example, values that other people can relate to. That is why values and tone of voice and branding is so important. It's hard to touch, but it is vital for you to consider. Do not go out here and go, branding? That will be the worst thing. The importance, we've just touched on a really good example of why branding is so important. So what good examples, just go back. What good case study examples can the people learn from, and then go to Gary?
So yeah, I already mentioned St. Pauli. I mean, it's for me, it's a huge inspiration. There's another club in Spain that I just forgot the name, but they're all about being green and ecological, and they don't use paper at all. Everything in their uniforms are redone from used materials. It's an amazing. I think they played like third division of Spain or something like that. But they're a really good example of being different and having fans all around the world for that. There's less extreme versions like Venezia in Italy. I don't even know which division they play, but they're really. They're more of a style brand rather than a sports club. The uniforms are made by world-renowned designers and just like art. Yeah. So those kind of examples where you can not even focus on sports and results. You're just focusing on something that's unique. And it's a great way of attracting attention, not only even in your country, but somewhere else.
So while, if you could go and follow these. If you could before Darren and Florian comes in, go and follow these people. So St. Pauli from Germany, follow them on social. Also, so go and follow the. Venezia in Italy, who do all of this type of merchandise. Follow these people because you'll learn from them. So get your phones out and follow them on Twitter, so you'll learn from them. Darren.
Yeah, just a couple more. Very similar to the one Petra says about the sustainability. Forest Green Rovers in England. I mean, they have all their food at the stadium is vegan, and they're very strict on everything they do, including they're just about to build a new stadium completely out of wood, I think, from the surrounding landscape. So, but because they believe so passionately in that, then they attract a whole group of new supporters who strongly believe in that too, who probably had never heard of Forest Green, before then. And then again, just on another issue that I think is very, very important, but again gives the club a lot of attention from all around the world, not just from its local communities, is Lewis FC, who I think everyone knows calls them Equality FC, and they were the first team in the world, I think, to pay their men and the women exactly the same salaries. So that's a really good one. And the final one that I think, again, I know, and it just comes back to that point when I know I keep arguing about the winning is everything. But I know one of our podcasts that got the most number of downloads was with the guy from Bohemians, which you'll probably be well aware of, Jeff, in Ireland, and they kept attendances growing and growing and growing, and never won a thing, as far as I know. But they were very, very strong on supporting homelessness and refugees, etc. And that was a very strong thing in their community that got them fans all over the world. So, and I think they sell merchandise now in every corner of the globe.
Yeah, so again, look at Lewis FC. I'm expecting phones to be out. Look at Lewis FC, Bohemians Football Club, Forest Green Rovers. They've got clear values that you can learn from. And before I hand over to Florian, I'll add one more. And mine is Savannah Bananas is a baseball team. The Savannah Bananas. And what they do, Savannah, Savannah, and everything is around the entertainment and how they've revolutionised baseball. Totally revolutionised baseball to the part that baseball in England has changed some of the rules to their ruling. And now, because baseball was going down in attendance, now baseball's starting to go up a wee bit. But check out Pauli FC, St. Pauli in Germany, the Forest Green Rovers, St. Louis, Lewis FC, Bohemians, BOH something, Bohemians FC, Savannah Bananas. By following these people, you're going to learn from them. And obviously, Florian, you had tell us the name of the ice hockey team that you thought was...
Geneva Servette.
So, Geneva...
Servette.
Okay. It's my fresh French. Geneva Servette is an ice hockey. Any others? Don't say Miami Heat.
Well, unfortunately, for sure there are some others, but the names maybe do not come to my mind just now. But what I've been observing, unfortunately, is that many clubs in my home country, but not only in everywhere, we just sometimes take for granted that the people would just come because we used to be that club that was at the top level or that won that many titles, or so we just assume that this will continue forever. But the society are changing, the generations are changing, but we just need to keep in mind that we need to maintain this and to make it even to the next level. I was another point I wanted to mention is that we were talking, and I was mentioning before, the importance of the first impression and the fact that we need to build this emotional connection with the fans. But I also see something that you will have the people that will come to the games because they want to enjoy, they know they're going to have a nice moment. It's going to be a leisure place to go, as you were mentioning, Darren. But I also believe that people in general and in every society, people have a huge need and a sense of belonging to something. And that's why I completely agree with the fact that values are so important, because you cannot go in your everyday life and show your values all the time and say, I am this or I am that. Sports and basketball is an occasion to stand for your values. And if you are a green person and your club is pushing this message, if you are someone that truly believes that more inclusivity needs to happen and you have a club that really stands for it, I mean, you have this emotional connection that is not just because you had the first good experience, but also because you actually share the same values, and instead of you shouting those values every single day, which you will never be able to do, you have an entity, a club that is just going to be much more than basketball and stand for those same values. And I believe people really deeply need that. I believe your hardcore fans, they also stand for the clubs because of the value you represent to their eyes. And that's something that I would never, that's probably an advice for me. I mean, don't underestimate the importance of the values. And probably the number one question I would ask if I were you, maybe just do a quick survey, ask your fans or the people that are coming to your games, or even the people that are not coming to your games, just on the street, what are the values that this club, my club, is standing for, and just get a learning from it. Maybe you will see that some people will easily recognize your brand and your values, some will not. And what can you do to actually make them know your brand better through the values you represent?
First class. Yes, please. Here.
I just wanted to mention a couple of things. We speak a lot about values, very important. We speak about inclusivity, very important. What we did not speak enough is inclusivity also about male, female. How do we attract actually both genders to attend and to feel comfortable? So a couple of things to consider. What is your general fan base? I assume it's, guys aged between maybe 18 and 60, 70, probably 70%, 80%, right? Maybe somebody comes with a family member, nothing wrong with that. What is actually as we say, tone of voice? Is the environment hostile? I'm sure that in most of the games there is a hostile element. We've been there because fans want to win no matter what. So again, I should ask myself, do I feel comfortable to buy a ticket to my 13-year-old daughter and her friend instead of going to a cinema to come to one of the games and know that she'll be safe there, that both girls will be safe there, to come to the game, to enjoy, not to be shouted at, not to hear bad language, and then to be comfortable that they'll come home safe. Also, where he addressed a little bit in his presentation the hate, and we all know how often we could hear bad language, we could have hostile environment, which really very much affects the female, but not just the girls. It affects the younger kids. It affects a lot of people who may not feel very comfortable. It affects the people who are different. Maybe I'm bigger, maybe I'm taller, maybe I'm just different. How do I feel in this environment? And I think this very much, it depends on the club, exactly talking about values, but talking about we accept this and we expect our fans to be like so-and-so. And just one example from basketball of how, things can change just like that. It's Caitlin Clark effect. We all know. It's an American effect, but if you experience, I've seen it myself, everybody could see how in 1 year, just a regular girl who plays, good basketball could change. And why the environment changed is because people feel that the families are welcome. People with babies, people very old, they come, they enjoy the game of basketball and the environment. Yes, it's a lot of entertainment, but they just enjoy coming in there with everybody, men, different ages, little girls, little boys wearing the jersey and just enjoying the game. So this is what I wanted to mention, is the environment that you create of safety, feeling comfortable and thinking yourself, do I create this environment for my child or somebody else's child to actually come in, my wife, my girlfriend, and feel comfortable and enjoy being in my club games.
Brilliant. Thank you. So that brings us to the end of this session. We wanted to do it differently rather than do by PowerPoint in one way. We wanted to talk and give some thoughts and ideas regarding attracting a younger audience. It's over to you now. We can't do it. We've given some ideas. And it's now, how do you develop and grow and strengthen a loyal fan base? And we've given some ideas. It's now over to you. And we've given some examples of other sports organisations to follow and to learn from on social media. So there's a lot that we've put in there, but take away one or two things. Now, before I hand over to the FIBA people, we are going to give you some homework, and Elvira is at the back with a big stick. Okay. So, you can come to these events and we have a good time. We learn some stuff, and I would say 60% will do nothing. Can we make that better than 60%? Can we make it where you do something on the back of the knowledge you've been given over the last day and a half? Yes or no?
Yes, Jeff.
Florian's going to do it. In all seriousness, 60% of you will do nothing. 60%. Does Kosovo want to be in the 60%? Or do you want to grow and develop? So we cannot do it. It's only you. So we're going to give you 3 tasks that you must go to the Federation. 3 tasks, nothing else. Task number 1, list what your voice is. Is it friendly? Is it aggressive? Is it formal? Is it informal? Is it playful? Is it entertaining? 2-3 words on your voice. And when you do this, start to activate that voice in your social media. Number 2, we want you to create a content calendar from October to December 24 using the template that we'll send to you. And the last one, we want you to do an audit of the fans' journey. At some stage between now and December, do an actual audit of your journey at your home games. Create a list of the recommendations you would do to improve it, and then go and improve it. 3 things. Meet as a team. What is our voice? Meet as a team. Create a content calendar. October, November, December. Meet as a team. Take the information from Darren, and in one of your home games, develop a 2-page document that says, this is what we found, here's the recommendations. And we want it sent to the Federation by the 31st of December, these 3 things for each club. So this will be 1 page, if even half a page. Bullet points. This is 1 page. This could be 1 or 2 pages. So that's it. Elvira, we will maybe go out to see who that will be. But 1 person, you need to email these documents to show that you're doing something. So this will be 1 page. This will be 1 page. And this maximum 3 pages. Maximum. Are you up for it? Are you up for it?
My job.
Yeah. It's over to you. The Federation will be out to go through these areas. and you have to go and work on it. And here's why. You have spent a Saturday and a Sunday of your time. Imagine if you did nothing. If you did nothing. Just do 1, 2, or in this case 3 things to improve your club. So on behalf of myself, as I hand now over to Florian and to Radmilla, thank you so much for your attendance. You have been amazing people, and we really wish you all the best in the sport as you develop it. You have a great federation, you've got great support, so we wish you every success. Thank you. Florian.
Well, thank you. I don't want to have a long speech, and actually I would like to, more my colleague Radmilla to say a few words, but again, very quickly on behalf of the entire team, I just would like to thank you very much for your time, for being open to what has been presented to you. It has been the 3rd time that we have conducted a session for clubs in Kosovo, and it's always a pleasure to come here. So we start to get very familiar with this room, with the hotel, and with you guys, because we have been through workshops like that, and it has always been an absolute pleasure. So thank you again for making this 3rd club workshop or 3rd experience here in Kosovo an absolute pleasure, and I'm speaking on behalf of the entire team. I cannot stress enough what Jeff said. It's over to you now. It's only you that can make a difference. What is very important to say is that the reason why we come here often and for the 3rd time, there are a couple of reasons. Number one, because we want to support all of you, and through you, we want to also support the Kosovo Basketball Federation, because since we have started to work with them in the creation of the strategic plan back in 2020 during COVID, they have made an amazing work, and we always refer to Kosovo Basketball Federation as one of the best examples of a federation that may not have the luxury of some others, but do have the artwork done and the seriousness to continue efforts after efforts after efforts. And I was telling Elvira and President Arben how we are even able to see the progress is made over the past 4 years. And this only is because of the teamwork and because of the seriousness and because you have embraced the process. So my message to you is continue to put the same amount of efforts, continue to embrace the process, and I'm sure when the next time we come here, we will have another great moment, another great time for knowledge exchange, but I'm also sure that we will again see the progresses that you guys have made if you continue putting the same amount of effort, if you continue pushing, and that's only what we can wish you is a great success. So, once again, big thank you. I hand over to my colleague Radmilla, who I'm sure would like to say a few words as well. Thank you very much for this 1 day and a half. And next time when we go back, we will have still Jeff singing. We'll still have, but we will also look at your numbers on social media. We'll look at the numbers of your attendance, and we will try to find out whether you have had an improvement, an increase, and if that is happening, and I'm sure it will, we will just be proud of the impact that maybe this 1 day and a half we spent together has had. So thank you again, and Radmilla, over to you.
No, I have, thank you. Okay, so I'll go back actually 7 years when we first started in 2017, just to say how much this federation has achieved from the very beginning. It's the youngest federation in Europe, but it's probably the most ambitious. And it's not just as a group, as a federation, but individually. Clearly, Elvira, personally, you all know her path and how much time she invested in herself to develop herself, and also the whole team, that they are part of a lot of our programs, and we could see the results. I would like here to mention also, and you see it firsthand, the amount of international events that the Federation is organizing, and of course, we work with them a lot on that as well, to develop, if you like, the event side of things, what they put on court, the whole preparation period, the delivery. Only this summer, there were 5 here in this country. So this is all part of the growth of the Federation, but growth of the Federation is all of you. Again, as it was already identified at the beginning, how important it is, the growth and development of the clubs, especially on the commercial side, on the marketing, on the way you put the product on court. I mentioned my own piece here. Let's not have just die-hard fans, the hostile environment. Let's have a great basketball environment. So we all have to move also forward. We are competitive. We don't hate each other. We are all together. We want to be bigger and better. All I have to just wish everybody is, yes, take something as a group out of it. You all put this effort to grow your league as well together. And hopefully now 4 more years, this federation will support you at least, and then potentially a lot more in the future. If we set as a goal in these next 4 years, from here to see you here, I think that this will be already a fantastic achievement for all. So again, a lot of thanks you were said. I just would like to thank my colleagues, of course, and our speakers who were here, and most of all, thank you and Elvira, Arben, and the Federation.
Thank you, Radmila. Po foli shqip, e nea, po shkon të Radmila ti? Nëse ka mundësi. Dita atje, masi jonë... I dëgjut krejt lavdatat që ka I bërën zyrtarët e FIBA-s për Federatën e Basketbollit Kosovës, po normalisht që këtu nuk ishim me qenë të mundura nëse nuk ishim me punu bashkë. Pra jeni ju klubet, shoqatat, komuniteti I basketbollit dhe këtë grupet e interesit që e bojnë Federatën për me I marrë këto lavdata. Kur thot që Federata Basketbollit e ka bo këta, kjo nuk kuptohet që është klubet, shoqatat edhe krejt ata që e përbojnë komunitetin e basketbollit. Une e bona këtë hymje, po para se mi ju falenderu për pjesëmarrjen këtë seminar, për këto 2 ditë që jeni angazhu dhe për kushtimin që e keni bo për me zhvillu mas pari vetëm personalisht, po mandej prej këtujt me shku dhe në klubet e juve me jep krejt këto ideja që I keni marrë, po besoj që ka pas shumë ideja të mira që keni më kthy tash në klubet e juve dhe për me implementu. Edhe une që I kom dëgju ndoshta për 7-ën herë, 8-ën herë, këto gjana kom mësu diçka ma shumë. Çdo herë mësoj diçka ma shumë, kështu që po besoj që edhe ju keni me bojë të njëjtën gjë, keni me shku në klubet e juve, po edhe ndonjëherë nëse nuk keni diçka të paqartë ose s'keni pas, përveç prezantimeve këtë gjanave tjera që kena mi përcjell, nëse keni diçka nevojë, keni më gjetë mu edhe stafin e Federatës për m'ju shërby. Unë kom thonë gjithë dhe vazhdoj me thonë që Federata është në shërbim të klubeve dhe të komunitetit basketbollit, e me të vërtet kur e them që ta edhe e menoj. Krejt këto kishin me qenë pa mundura, pa ekspertizën e FIBA-s, zyrtarëve të FIBA-s dhe ekspertëve të FIBA-s që kanë ardhur këtu për herën e tretë në Kosovë. I treti seminar është që e bojnë për fuqizimin e klubeve. Arsyeja pse na e thojmë fuqizimin e klubeve është pikërisht ata që përmes fuqizimit të klubeve përbojmë edhe një federatë fortë. Federata nuk kish me qenë referencë të federatat e tjera nacionale në Ballkan edhe në Evropë nëse nuk kishmi pas klubet e forta. Po kjo nuk do me thonë që federata është e fortë, klubet janë të forta dhe nuk do të me vazhdu me seminarët e tilla, sepse do të me vazhdu në kontinuitet me bo një gjatë të tillë. Tjetra që ka përdu me thonë është që ju inkuraju që me vazhdu jo veç në seminaret FIBA-s, po edhe në seminaret Komitetit Olimpik apo kushdo që organizon edhe që është në shërbim të klubeve me marrë pjesë, sepse e tha edhe Radmila që une Kam investu shumë vetën, po më nej Federata ka investu, Komiteti Olimpik, Ministria, FIBA, krejt, po përmes meje u zhvillu Federata, u zhvillu stafi, i mrekullueshëm që e kam këtu edhe po du mi falenderu shumë Drenin, Bariun, Ditën, Rezën, Enejen, që kam punu pa ndërprej para, edhe gjatë, edhe Shiki Studio, Ritën edhe Nitën, që kam punu në kampanjën për seminar, për mju tërhek juve për më ardhë këtu, se nuk është bash letë 2 ditë vikendit për mju pru këtu. Kështu që për fond, faleminderit shumë edhe njerë, edhe duni me pas qarë që për në me federatën e keni prapa, kryetarin, mu, stafin, edhe krejt për çka keni nevoj. Faleminderit shumë. Okay. Picture outside, yeah. Po fotografi jashtë, merr një certifikat aty 1 milion, për mos me hub kohë për mi shpënda, veç merr një 1 milion tavolinë edhe një fotografi kemi me po jashtë, përveç asaj që kemi po mbrana krejt, edhe mandej shkojmë drejt edhe jeni të lirë. Faleminderit edhe një herë.